and to tell all the fathers out there, Happy Father's Day. So, all you fathers out there, you know, yes, last Sunday was Father's Day, so, and those would-be fathers, or to-be fathers, right? Yeah. Happy Father's Day. So, anyway. The phone lines are open, 727-8750. We took care of Marvin's problem. Hopefully he'll get in there. But again, a lot of information there.
Let's go back to the water, though, and that we haven't really been able to cover that because we've had so many questions. In this heat, at night, you're going to sweat out a quart and a half of water while you're sleeping. And I don't think people realize that, you know, when you're sleeping, you sweat that much. Well,
and just the insensible losses of what you lose in your breath and your skin. You know, reality is that if it's 110 outside, 87 feels pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's still hot.
It's still hot, but it's relatively. So what do we do with our temperatures? A lot of people are a little bit, they have decreased skin circulation. So they don't sweat like they normally used to. And so they will lose a little bit less through their skin, but they'll lose a lot more through their breathing. And because they've got to get that, they've got to try and cool down. So with that being said, as an elderly person, you have to be very, very careful of hyperthermia because you're not, the evaporative, the sweat that goes off your skin is an evaporative thing, okay? As long as there's a breeze, and you sweat, you're cool. But when there's no breeze and you don't sweat, you could elevate your core body temperature pretty substantially. So it's very important to realize that that could be a problem for the elderly population out here. And hydration isn't going to solve that, okay? And the more you hydrate yourself, you're not going to solve that problem. So it's really a coolness, and unless you hydrate yourself internally with cool liquids, then you may lower your core body temperature. So it's very important for people to realize that getting in a cool breeze, swamp coolers work initially in this town until the humidity goes up, and then swamp coolers don't work. But keeping your house at 78 is a comfortable temperature when it's 100 and some odd degrees outside, but that's going to be different than when it is in the winter. In the winter, we're keeping our houses warm, you know, at 72 is very hot, but 68. So that temperature of 10 difference makes a lot of difference in how much fluid you lose through your skin. So that's equivalent to an Arrowhead bottle of water. That bottle right there. We have to pull it on the break, but because we're all tied into our mics. But that's what you're going to lose through the day, through your breathing and through your skin.
And that much at night.
Yeah. And so it's very important, and now a lot of people, Louis has called in before and wanted to know about the urination at night. So what ends up happening is you're drinking all this water, and then if you're trying to play catch up, especially in the summertime because you're thirsty, well, your body will eventually excrete it out, but it'll do it in the evening when you're laying down trying to sleep. So it's important to get that hydration going. Now, one of the things I've been telling patients to do during the day, and this is something you could do, is you can actually get one of those hats that fit into the toilet, okay? So if you're monitoring your fluids, what you can do is you can actually urinate into that hat, and then you find out how much you urinate. And make sure that when you dump that out, you measure an equal amount of fluids to drink. So you'll never get behind the 8 ball if you keep up with what you make in urine. Plus a little bit that you lose through your skin. You'll never have that problem. But most of the people are having that problem. Now, one of the things that I notice that people that get out and work, when they wake up in the morning, they have a cup of coffee. Okay? So they have a cup of coffee because they're a little bit tired and they're used to that coffee in the morning, and then what do? They go outside. Well, coffee is a diuretic. A methyl xanthine. And so they get dehydrated, and then they're really behind the 8 ball. But we got Edward on the phone. Edward.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Ed.
Yes.
What can we do for you?
I have a question to ask you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Hey,
What?
Can you take care of sciatic nerve?
I'm sorry.
I didn't
I'm
hear.
saying, I'm watching, I'm talking right now. TV, I'm talking right now. Can you take care of sciatic nerve?
Sciatic nerve pain? Ed, are you saying sciatic nerve pain?
Yes. Yes, my left leg, okay, my hip and everything. I got a second nerve.
Yes, we do treat sciatica, sciatica pain. Sciatica pain is usually a result of degeneration in the spine or a disc, herniated disc, or spinal stenosis.
Speak up, I can't hear. Speak up some.
Well, we're talking as loud as we can, so.
Yeah, it's usually the cause of nerve compression down the largest nerve in the body that goes down the buttocks, down the back of the leg, and around the side of the knee to the foot.
Yes.
Medication, you can treat it with medication, which sometimes is effective.
I'm on Tramadol, Norco, and Mastospasm, all that shit. Ain't not helping. I'm script for medical marijuana, but that helps, okay?
Well, what we're going to do for you is we're going to flash up. Do you have your screen on?
Yeah, so look right now. Look right now. Look right
Okay.
here, watching right now.
That number, 751-7041, I'm having to dial to see it because the camera's in the way. Call that number and get in to see.
I just put it right here right now. Put it right there, back to back. All right?
Okay. Anyway, I think he needs to call in and
Yeah, just have him call in.
yeah, and then get in so we can get him diagnosed and treated correctly. So, all right.
Well, let me finish. The treatment for it is of course anti-inflammatories, medication, ice, rest, stretching. But one of the things that we do over at the Wellness Center is we do spinal decompression. There's three forms of spinal decompression. There's the mechanical, which we do using almost like the rack that you've seen 400 years ago where they stretched you, only it's all done on a computer and everything is regulated. The other forms are a discectomy where they go in and they cut the disc away, or that procedure that the guy that called earlier is doing, where they go laser surgery, or they do a laminectomy to release the pressure off that nerve. But before you go in and have any type of a procedure done on your back, I would just about try anything to alleviate or reduce that pain. We've had very, very, very good success with the decompression for sciatic nerve, leg pain, arm pain, pain into the shoulder, by just decompressing the spine.
Well, and as we get older, you know, the cushion between the bones wears out, and it's a hydration issue. Okay, so you know, as you stand, you know, it's nice. It looks like those nice rubber shocks on a car, right? The bushings on a car. Over time and wear, the rubber gets out. It doesn't want, so everything kind of comes, it rides down. And you have pedicles in the back of the spine, right?
Yeah.
And those pedicles, those transverse processes, are right between them is where the nerve roots come out. So if that spine, if that thing is decompressing and it's getting lower, then you've got less room for that nerve root to come out of there. And that's what causes irritation and pain, not to mention just bony arthritic things and that nature. So that's why decompression works so well, because you're actually just pulling it apart.
Yeah.
And hydration works well too, because when you're hydrated, you've got more water in there. So
exactly.
And dehydration will worsen your back pain. So it's very important, and that's why when you lay down, you stretch your back and you allow water to come back in there.
Well, it's at night is when those discs fill up with water again.
Exactly. So, you know, it may not be a bad thing for back pain to lay down and stretch and, you know, drink a bunch of water, but in summertime it may be, you know, harder on your back. So it's a good point. I never really thought about that. But so a lot of people have high blood pressure and they're on water pills. And those water pills are dehydrating them.
Yep.
So you're caught between, do I take my water pill, and if I take a bunch of water, am I going to have a problem with, you know, my heart and my blood pressure? That's a tough area. So what I would suggest is that you monitor your systolic on your blood pressure, okay, and that if your blood pressure is falling below 120, that you might want to hold your water pill. Okay, especially in this hot summer environment, and especially if you're going to be outside. If your blood pressure were to creep up above that 120, 130 range, and it's continuing to go up, then the water pill would be advantageous to add back.
I would also say make sure you check with your cardiologist, just to be on the safe side.
Well, I basically advise people that if you have low blood pressure, hypotensive, I mean, really, as you get older, the criteria for blood pressure have been elevated. Okay, so people in their 65 and 70 years old, the normal blood pressure should be in the 140 systolic range, because you need a head of pressure for organ perfusion. So if you're taking medication and it's dropping low and you're dehydrated, and one of those blood pressure pills is a water pill, okay, then you're worrying about hypotension, low blood pressure, which a fall and an injury and a hip fracture in that patient is a life-ending event, or could be a life-ending event. So you want to keep that blood pressure up there. You know, you're going to hydrate yourself, you're going to check it, you want to make sure that it's good, but you don't want to let it get too low, and especially if you work outside or you have something else. And the other thing is, when you're driving, pack extra water with you.
Always.
Always pack extra water with you when you're driving. What if your car stalls? You know, do you have cooling blankets? Do you have some secondary fans that can help cool you down? I mean, you really, they've done those things where people have left their babies in the car. Unfortunately, they died, but they show what the temperature is, 135 degrees in a car.
And we live in the desert, folks. We live in the desert. You can't be cautious enough in this type of heat.
That was Atlanta. What about 120 degrees? What's the temperature in the car? 150? So anyway, very, very important that you pack extra water in your car, even a cooler. I know when I drive, I get those ice chests and I put some cool water in there and I put a rag in there just in case. You know, chance favors the prepared, and if you're prepared for the desert and prepared to be out there, you have a good opportunity of doing that. So I think we're going to go to break, and so my producer's been on the phone, but we'll be right back. Thank you.